Hey friends, this is Mike DeJohn with Soundstage EDU, and I want to welcome you back. I want to start today by saying something directly to a very specific group of people. If you are the one who always shows up, if you're the one people rely on, if you're the one who notices what's falling through the cracks and quietly fills the gap, this episode is for you. Because the people who burn out first are almost never the ones who care the least. They're almost always the ones who care the most. Here's the paradox I see in almost every volunteer-driven program. The most capable people become the most relied on. I mean, it's obvious why that seems to happen. It's really not a mystery to anybody, but nobody ever really notices that that's what's happening. And when that happens, the most reliable people, which are those most capable people, become the most overloaded. And the most invested people in the situation become the most exhausted. And it's not because anyone actually planned it that way, but because systems, when they're unclear, they will drift towards convenience. And convenience always lands on the shoulders of the same people. That's why so many of you come to me and say it's always the same 3 or 4 people. And they never realize that it's the system that is misaligned that's causing that to happen. It's not because they're martyrs or heroes or that people are lazy and just letting it default to these people. It's because the system allowed it to happen. And the people inside of the system allowed the system to keep functioning that way rather than course correcting it. And here's part of the reason why. Those good volunteers, they don't complain. And if they do, they certainly don't do it loudly. They never demand recognition. They don't want to rock the boat. They just, as you so often hear, they just handle it. And this trains the whole system. It teaches it. It learns. They've got it. They don't mind. We can ask them. Before you know it, y'all are the ones that are responsible for making it always land on the same 3 or 4 people. Over time, that asking turns into expectation. And here's the hard truth. Competence attracts responsibility. And silence, the silence of the competent person, attracts even more. Let's listen to that again. Competence attracts responsibility, and silence attracts more. If you allow that pattern to continue and no one interrupts it, burnout isn't just a possibility. It's a most certain outcome. And when you have those kinds of sudden outcomes, pressure release. It always happens at the most inopportune times. It's going to happen at those times when you really, really need that good volunteer. And then one day they don't show up. And then the next time they don't show up, you wonder where they're at and you start asking questions. And sometimes you get some of the worst news you can imagine in those situations. Because they let it go too long. I made a video about it once. And you treat your volunteers like that, the best ones will always leave. And once they've left, you'll almost never, ever get them back. What makes this even harder is what's happening inside of those good volunteers. As they're approaching this off-ramp that they don't even realize is coming, they don't just feel tired. They don't. They feel guilty for wanting relief. And if I could share names and stories with you, I could tell you so many stories. I don't have just a handful. I have an inbox full of stories of people saying they can't get that relief because they'd feel guilty. I've had people tell me there's no rest for boosters. Yes, there is. It's part of the internal cost. This is what's happening inside of your good volunteers. They feel guilty for wanting relief. They feel ashamed for feeling resentful because they get that. They get resentful as this goes on. It's human nature. It's not all sunshine and lollipops and cotton candy. They become afraid of, they don't want to step back because in their mind, they're letting the kids down. Maybe part of that's true. Certainly some kids will feel that way because they don't see the whole big picture, because many of you do a great job of realizing that the adult things stay with the adults and don't spill out into the kids. Instead of saying this is too much, they say, I'll just get through this season. Only problem is, another season comes. And it's not just marching band, guys. We're in that world right now. We're all getting back to school. Brand new season. And that's what happens. Another season comes, and then another, and another. Until one day, they don't quit dramatically. They just disappear. That's not disengagement. That's self-preservation. And honestly, sometimes something I come alongside them and tell them they must do. Programs that rely on heroics will eventually lose their heroes. Strong systems don't ask people to sacrifice themselves for sustainability. They build systems that distribute that responsibility. They do so with clear roles and defined terms, shared leadership, and planned off-ramps. And it's not because people aren't generous, but because generosity without structure is exploitable, even unintentionally. And I want y'all to realize that this matters because the kids notice when adults disappear. Because sometimes it's adults in pretty high positions that disappear. They notice when the person who always cared suddenly isn't there anymore. And these are almost always parents of other students. They'll start talking. And when we talk, we don't talk. If we don't talk about why people burn out, kids are going to learn the wrong lesson. They're going to learn that commitment equals depletion, that leadership costs your health, that caring too much is dangerous. And then they never step into those roles. And that's not the legacy that we want to model here. Inside the Soundstage EDU Insider Space, we talk about this at a much deeper level. We talk about how to interrupt burnout patterns early, how to see them coming, how to build volunteer pipelines instead of bottlenecks. We have honest conversations without guilt or blame. If you've ever thought, I can't keep doing this the way I'm doing it, that space exists for you. It's not an exclusive thing. And as I've mentioned recently, we're working to make that space more accessible. And as soon as Spotify allows it, that subscription is going to move to $2.99 a month. That way, more people who have the need for these conversations can be part of them. We don't want to block access to people because of finances. But we also believe that growth requires investment and that this work needs to be sustained. And that small revenue is what points towards that sustainability. I also want to remind you about the tools on the Soundstage EDU website, especially the Soundstage EDU Cooler. It's a free resource designed to help regulate emotions and slow reactions when things start to feel a little overwhelming. Burnout doesn't start with exhaustion. It doesn't. It actually starts with constant activation. And regulation is the first line of defense here. If you believe in keeping resources like that available to everyone, the Soundstage EDU Access Initiative helps support that mission. If this episode named something that you've lived, please share it. Share it on the post where you saw this. Share it where you shared it. Share it in a parent group. Start a conversation. Don't do it to complain or point fingers, but to help someone else realize that they're not weak for feeling tired. I just put those words into a microphone. You guys can take those words and help spread the message and help the healing process for all these other people that don't even know we exist yet. Because sometimes the most powerful support that we can offer is language. If you're a good volunteer who's feeling worn down, hear this. You're not failing. You're not ungrateful. And you're not selfish for wanting this to be sustainable. Caring deeply should not cost you everything. As we keep moving through this season, we'll keep talking about how to protect the people who make these programs possible without guilt, without shame, and without burning anyone out. Thanks for being here. Thanks for caring. This has been Mike, and I will see you in the next episode.